Ken Kesey. Idool van heel veel mensen die in de 60e jaren opgroeiden. Zijn bus werd een symbool. De Merry Pranksters waren zijn reisgenoten. En in Engeland deed hij dat nog eens dunnetjes over, maar bracht ook een theatershow. Rene Akker gaat met hem praten. Over die theatershow, dat Arthuriaanse drama en over zijn drijfveren. Want Ken Kesey gelooft er nog steeds in. Hij strijdt nog steeds voor de idealen van de jaren 60. Voor de liefde, love en voor de vrede in de wereld. Ken Kesey en de Merry Pranksters in 1999 in Engeland.
She called me by my name and ran and vanished in the brightening air. And though I am old with wandering through hollow land and hilly land, I will not rest till I have seen her lips and touched her hand and walked through long green dappled grass and plucked till time and times are done the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun. I said, here's $1,500, and he wouldn't take it, and I had it. I had it because of the magic of that poem, the majesty of that poem, the genius of that poem. That's what we've got that all the people who are trying to sell Burger Kings along the freeways don't have. We've got that magic. We've got that genius. Let's use it. Let's use it. Send it out. Everywhere you go, send it out. Everywhere you go, you finally come to people and you say, I love you, man.
I love you too, man. His name is Thomas Story.
What is the message that the bus on this tour in the UK is trying to convey to the people?
That the 60s aren't over until the fat lady gets high. The whole thing that started in the 60s, which everybody kind of tries to box up and sell as hippie nonsense, there was a lot more stuff started there. It was when civil rights movement really got its engine going, and the feminist movement and the environmental movement, new kinds of music, new kinds of cinema, and there's not been anything much new happened since. It's just kind of been lying there half dormant, and we're trying to kickstart it into life again.
So if you look at the new age movement and you said the commercialization of that whole idea, how does that strike you when you look at the magazines, the sort of people trying to cash in on that whole, let's say, the need of people to find answers?
Well, a lot of times the media makes the mistake of thinking that if they don't know about it, it didn't happen. And there's a lot of stuff going on the media doesn't know about and has been going on steady, as is evidenced by the amount of people we run into everywhere. They're not just coming to see me, they're coming to reaffirm their stance as revolutionaries.
Because I read your leaflet yesterday, and it said that back in the 60s you used to give free concerts, free parties, free everything, whereas nowadays it's very hard to get something for free.
Well, I always consider my gigs a success by how much money I don't lose. You always lose a bunch of money out on these things. You know, with this many people and this much stuff, you can't make that much money. So this is not only free, we're having to pay to show it and bring it around to people. And I wouldn't trade places with any of the other people. I think that we're having a great time doing what we're doing, and it's creative, and it's chancy, and it's on the edge, and sometimes we succeed and sometimes we don't. But the whole thing is always built around, man, you got a horsefly on you. Can you zoom in on that horsefly on his right arm there? That's a horsefly on there to kick your head off, man. Man, look at that booger. Right, I'll try to catch him. Almost. What were we talking about?
Horseflies.
Horseflies, all right.
Here we go.
But that whole scene last night was a pretty good evidence of what happens. We stumble along and bumble along, then pretty soon more and more stuff begins to stumble along and bumble along with us until we've got a great group stumble bumble and people coming in we've never seen before, and drummers and people with new costumes, because to really be involved in what went on in the 60s, you don't want to just be entertained. If you want to be entertained, you can watch MTV, but people want to be part of a ritual. They want to be out there doing something with people, and they want to sing and dance and make noise and feel like that their input has some effect. And that whole scene last night was a pretty good evidence of what happens. We stumble along and bumble along, then pretty soon more and more stuff begins to stumble along and bumble along with us until we've got a great group stumble bumble and people coming in we've never seen before, and drummers and people with new costumes, because to really be involved in what went on in the 60s, you don't want to just be entertained. If you want to be entertained, you can watch MTV, but people want to be part of a ritual. They want to be out there doing something with people, and they want to sing and dance and make noise and feel like that their input has some effect. And you can tell the more people that got up there on stage and up around with us last night, the better it got. It was, finally I looked out there, like a third of the people are left sitting and everybody else is rumbling around up there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because now that you mention ritual, isn't it true that we live in a society where it's very hard to find rituals for us grown-ups as well, but especially for the children? I mean, apart from either being in the army or being part of a gang, there's not much of rituals to be had.
Well, that's why I always call these things ritual realities, like virtual realities. Only you're doing a ritual to bring it about. The one we did a couple of years ago was called Twister, in which takes place in Emerald City at the end of the world, and all of these same people played characters in The Wizard of Oz. George over there was the Tin Man. That's, you can see he still has part of his Tin Man. Yep, he still got his costume. Phil, the King Arthur, was the Scarecrow, and it was the same kind of thing where you're dealing with contemporary angst about the end of the world, or about the end of the millennium, or something coming around that is going to change, or we're going to go back and do it all over again for another 1,000 years. And everybody that shows up at these things are optimistic. There's optimism in every one of these faces you see out there, and joy, and a kind of relief to know that, my God, these old dudes ain't dead yet, and their bus is still running.
That's true. Now that you mentioned the millennium and optimism, what's your thought on the change of the year, and do you think the world's going to go down?
Damn. I did catch
something.
I did catch something. That must have been the horsefly. I'm sorry. What were you saying? Millennium.
Yeah, the change of the year 2000. The whole let's say not paranoia maybe, but it's getting close.
Yeah.
To what's going to happen when we change into the year 2000.
I think we have an opportunity to really nail down a consciousness right now that will make it hard for us to go back to being Milosevic and that whole consciousness. That everybody has seen it over and over and over on the Great Mandala. This happens, and the Irish retaliate, and the English retaliate, or the Jews, or something. It's the same old, an eye for an eye. And everybody with any brains knows it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and we don't know for sure how to change it. But we recognize the need to change it, and the only way it can be changed is from the heart, where you are really trying to love everything and everybody that you run across, including spirits.
Speaking of spirits, did you encounter any spirits on your trip throughout the holy places in England?
Oh, sure. I mean, the spirit was evident there last night. If that had been a gospel meeting, you would say it'd be the Spirit of Christ. And who knows for sure what it is, but when the Spirit kicks in, you can feel it. And after it happens, then people begin to move in and try to sell it off. But by then, real revolutionaries have moved on to something else, so that you're not a sitting target. The thing that Don Juan tells Castanedas right away is, don't stand on the horizon too long. If you do, you attract attention, and then you get arrested or rousted or something. And so we're luckily moving just ahead of the worry, and everybody's in good shape. I got terrible split lips from riding on top of the bus, but other than that, pranksters looking fine fettle. Look at this one strolling in. In fact, look at that pair over there. The pair over there.
Little bunny rabbit.
Uh-huh. Hey, you know, what I realize about the fairies, you guys need to wear less clothes. Uh-huh. No, I mean, putting a banner over a black T-shirt and black pants. Have those boys take those pants off. Get something on them that so it doesn't just look. Yeah.
Hey, Zane, you're buttoning your shirt wrong.
Well, that's good.
I can go with that. Hold on.
All right. Well, you guys are off on the next leg, I guess.
I guess so. I'm not sure. We're off to Liverpool for something. And Stratford-on-Avon. We're following in the footsteps of Shakespeare humbly. I mean, this is all about the Tempest, and my charms are all o'erthrown. And everywhere you go, you run into evidences that people around here aren't aware of because they're used to it. But you'll see things that'll just make your heart jump, like the stones in Cornwall, where they are and where they've been set, and the pebbles on the Brighton beach. And so much of it has to do with stone and rock. I mean, these people, well, these Celts over here, they moved a lot of rock around.
You can say that again.
And just like in Amsterdam, they learned how to rule the world by ruling the tides. And by changing the face of the economics in Europe that way. The Dutch have really had a handle on things for like 400 years, and the English have the same sort of handle, only it's on rocks. The Dutch deal with the tides, the English deal with the rocks. The Irish deal with the alcohol. We're on our way there. We were coming to Amsterdam for the hemp festival, and the...
That's in May, I think, somewhere.
No, it's in November. This was when we were going to judge the Cannabis Cup.
It's not going to happen, or it is?
It is going to happen, but Babs and I, who were going to be the judges, can't make it because we've got to go, and we had other stuff to do. And, yeah, we were looking forward to it. I love nothing better than going and staying in a hotel right near the Reich Museum, smoking a ball of hash about that big, and going over and sit in front of Rembrandt's Night Watch for about 3 hours. There's certain things that you need to sit in front of the real thing. Like anybody who hasn't been to the Van Gogh Museum don't really understand what the hell is going on until they actually stand there and look at these things one after the other. It's so powerful, it makes you kind of nauseous, actually. But we'll make it to Amsterdam again. Do you guys know Simon Winkenoog?
Yes, he's a, well, I wouldn't say a close personal friend, but the TV station we're doing this for belongs to Luke Sala, and he's a close personal friend of Simon Winkenoog, and he will surely show this to Simon. Yeah, that's for sure. So if you have anything to say to Simon, go ahead.
Simon, when are you going to come to visit us over in Oregon? We've paid visits to your place about 14 times. We haven't seen you in Oregon once.
There you go. All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Take it easy.
Yes.
Well, no, I just meant for right now.
Should we all give the question?
Well, first, let's get everybody over here.
Like this.
Yeah, give the cameras to Obi over there, and everybody else get over here and get in the picture.
Juan, you gotta get in the picture.
Get over here and get the picture.
All right, everybody say cheers.
You the first row.
You're going to have a squat down row, okay.
We have a window row.
Obi, you know how to trip each other on that?
There's a top row.
You will?
Lie down.
For sure a top row.
Yeah, anything. Eli, other side.
Yeah, kneel down next to me.
So, Obi, should we go with the where's the
Hey, you
Yeah.
put yourself in
Do it.
the
Good background.
Nice light right now. Soft light.
Okay.
Oops, you missed it. We done?
No, let's do the where's Merlin.
Yeah.
Just that.
Tip your head to the side.
Shoot. You too.
I haven't got a hint.
Where's Marlene?
Woo, everyone here.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me do a couple more. Just move fast. Hold on.
Let's point up there. There's Merlin coming there. Right?
Hey, where is he? Where is he? Take one with the big one.
Going straight towards us.
Whoa, take one with that way. Oh, I got chipped Swannies. Here we go, everyone. Hey, Bob, we're going to get in there.
Sit over here, you girls. Get in there. Hang on a second.
Down like,
Come on, everyone.
Saturday Night Fever.
All right, here we go.
Right behind.
How about you over there, the long blue shirt? We need some more kids. You want to come and stand over here?
here, one more where's
Lightning. Take
One more where's Merlin. Everybody do the question mark again.
Simon, get down a little lower.
Oh, there's a dog. We need that dog.
Where's Merlin?
Take one with that